Hello, I'm Martha Ross, a fellow with the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C., and I'm happy to be part of Brookings Mountain West here at UNLV to talk about research that I have been doing on young adults who are out of work and highlight the findings that are related to the city of Las Vegas. With this research, my co-author Natalie Holmes and I wanted to examine how young people are faring in the labor market. Specifically, we're looking at people ages 18 to 24, a key transition point from adolescence into adulthood and independence. Transitions are a time of promise, but also vulnerability. And after the great conveyor belt of K-12 education ends, young people face a landscape of college and training options that offer so many possibilities, but can also be confusing, difficult to navigate, and financially out of reach. Meanwhile, if they forgo college or post-secondary education, they face a labor market that is increasingly unfriendly to those with no more than a high school diploma. Small wonder then that many young people are struggling. In this research, we looked at young adults ages 18 to 24 in more than 100 of the nation's largest cities and counties, and we found that 17% are out of work, totaling 2.3 million people. Before I go any farther, though, let me give you a bit more background on our data source and which young people I'm talking about. We used the American Community Survey from the U.S. Census Bureau and relied on that data about young people's demographics, employment, school enrollment, and educational attainment. We wanted to identify the most economically vulnerable young adults. There are plenty of people who aren't working who are doing just fine. They don't want to work, they aren't looking for work, and they can make ends meet without it. Most commonly, this refers to people in school or those taking care of children. In this age group, 18 to 24, it's a lot of college students. So we estimated which students are supported by their families and have made the choice to focus on school rather than work, and we did not include them in this analysis. Of course, many students cannot afford school without working. They need a job to pay tuition and cover living expenses. So we estimated who those students were, and we included them. The upshot is that the out-of-work population we're looking at does include college students, but not the stereotypical ones who started right after high school, attend full-time, and live on campus. Okay, back to the main story, the 2.3 million young people who are out of work. Their circumstances suggest a difficult transition to adulthood. Only 36% worked in the past year, compared to 69% of all young adults. And along with other research, this suggests that work begets work. Experience paves the way for future employment. In terms of education, 2/3 have a high school diploma or less. Remember, jobs increasingly require at least some education beyond high school. Most of the jobs that were lost in the recession were held by people with a high school diploma or less. And most of the jobs gained back since then are held by people with a college degree or some sort of certificate or other post-secondary education. And lastly, more than 1 in 3 young adults who are out of work live in poverty. Let's focus now on the city of Las Vegas, referring specifically to young people living within the city limits and not those in the larger Clark County region. 22% of young adults in Las Vegas are out of work, considerably higher than the 17% nationally. That equals 13,000 young people here. In some ways, they're similar to their peers. They are diverse in terms of race and ethnicity. They're pretty evenly split between male and female, and about 2/3 live with their parents or grandparents. But other signs point to trouble. Relatively few are in school, only 10%, so it does not look like they are choosing to focus on school rather than work. Nor are they picky college graduates waiting for just the right opportunity. Only 6% have an associate's or bachelor's degree. Primarily, these are young people with low levels of education who risk getting off to a bad start in their working lives. Only 35% worked in the past year, compared to 71% of all Las Vegas young people. Almost 70% have no more than a high school diploma, and 32% are in poverty. What can we do about this? A lot. There is no shortage of ideas and examples of how to reform education and training and to promote stronger pathways into the workforce. They include re-engagement centers to connect young people without a high school diploma to education and training options. More job training programs tailored to local economic conditions and designed in close consultation with employers. Apprenticeships, a tried and true method. Better options to help people with low literacy in math prepare for job training or post-secondary education. 2-generation programs that combine education and training for adults with early childhood development programs for their young children. For the most disconnected and alienated young people, programs offer a mix of supportive services like mentoring and counseling, work experience connected with stipends or wages, academics, and supportive relationships with adults. Lastly, we can continue our focus on reforms and supports to ensure that students who enroll in college complete college. What we lack is a sense of urgency, political will, and imagination. We should tap into the intelligence and assets of the young people I have just been describing, who are our neighbors, future workers, citizens. Help them grow into their potential. We do ourselves no favors when we consign millions of people to the margins of the labor market when they could be helping to shape our collective future.